Welcome to the Washdown podcast, episode number 29. And today we will be talking with Roosevelt Hampton, a 17-year career firefighter. Also, he was a staff sergeant in the U.S. Army National Guard with 2 deployments to Kosovo and Afghanistan. And we talk about a little bit of everything. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Episode number 29 of the Washdown podcast.
Green or look at...
You look wherever you want to look.
You can look wherever you want, dude.
Well, where do I begin?
I don't know. Why don't you begin at the beginning? Or in the middle, or maybe 3/4 of the way through?
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I like when they start at the end and then jump back to the beginning.
I like the Guy Ritchie movies, though, where it's like it just jumps around a lot. And then it doesn't really happen the way that he's just showed you that it happened in the scene before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're not going to do that.
Okay.
See, I like those movies when I watch them by myself. Because when I watch them with my wife, I have to play 100 questions and I get mad. And I have to yell at her.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Or when we watch a new movie and she starts asking questions. I'm like, I don't know. I'm watching the same damn thing you are. How about you shut up and watch so I can figure it out and then tell you later.
I got something for you. Go to the movie theater
Same thing.
watch the new movies.
Nope.
They tell you, shh.
Nope. She still talks.
Okay, I can't help you, sir.
That and I don't like going to the movie theaters.
Yeah.
It's too
My
expensive.
wife does the same thing. She talks during
And then
TV
she's like, and then it's like, well, what'd they say? Well, I don't know. You were talking.
yeah, we'll just rewind it. That's not how this works.
Not today. Not ever.
No.
And I just don't wait to watch movies with her. I watch them.
Now, there are some things that are scheduled. I have to wait. Doesn't happen very often because I don't watch a lot of movies.
I'm not waiting anymore. I told her, I was like, I'm not waiting anymore. Because it takes too long.
Well, or you just watch them and don't tell her, and then you watch them together. And then you seem like a genius whenever she asks you a question, you answer it.
Like, oh, you see that coming?
Yeah.
No.
Well, Army of the Dead, perfect example. She still wants to watch it.
Yeah.
I watched it like 2-3 weeks ago.
I can relate. I'm on season 2 of Chosen. My wife is still on season 1.
Is that the YouTube one?
No, I usually watch it. Well, they do show it on the YouTube, but I watch it on the Chosen app.
Oh, okay. I worked with a guy who was talking about that the other day.
It's pretty good, man.
I don't think I've heard of it.
It's the Bible put into cinema. The stories of the Bible
Oh, okay.
with actual characters.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, they were talking about it. I was like, I might check that out. It's kind of neat. I like the stories.
Yeah.
Because you get to see the characters of the people.
Well, I mean, there's just something different about watching a movie and reading a book. Rachel and I were having that conversation the other day. We were talking about books and as opposed to movies. And I think me and you were having that conversation the other day too. And just how you imagine a character in your mind of how they're going to look and how they're going to, do things. And then you watch the movie and it's the same, but it's different.
Right.
There's some details that are missing that were in the book.
I can't really say I've read a lot of books. I'm usually the movie person. Remember that movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield?
Yes.
They asked him about
my
the book.
man.
He was like,
right there.
Nope.
Right here.
Watch the movie.
Right here. Right here. We're right here.
Do not encourage him, Roosevelt.
I'm that guy. I'm the movie guy.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
We should have had him here with the movies instead of our producer.
Moran, yeah. Hey, we can hit that topic too. I don't know. We got time. It's a big day.
So we
Nothing
talk.
but time.
Go to Bed Bath & Beyond. Streaking in the quad. I don't know.
Yeah, you're going to be solo like he was.
Yeah.
Maybe your wife and her friends can pull up.
Yeah.
A little cold out there, isn't it, Jeremy? It's 90 degrees. That sucks for you, doesn't it?
All by himself.
That's just rude and wrong, dude.
On so many levels.
On so many levels.
It was the movie. It's not my fault.
So, Anyway, to kind of bring it back, Roosevelt, let's talk about you.
He's a movie guy. That's all we need to know.
Yes.
Yeah.
What would you like to know about me?
So, you've been a firefighter for 17 years.
Yes,
You
sir.
were in the military for a long time, deployed a couple times.
Yes.
So, why are you here?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I often ask myself that. It's almost like my daily question to God. Why am I here?
I meant specifically, why are you at this podcast?
Oh,
He got a phone call from a guy who needed a favor.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got a phone call from a guy. I think his name was. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now.
Oh,
It's unimportant. Most people.
But he called
don't care
me
about
up and
him.
was like, "Hey, guy, what are you doing on this date? Would you like to come speak? Have a roundtable discussion?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?"
And then he showed up to the square table.
So I show up here, and it's square. Complete letdown, bro. It's all right though. It's all right.
You know what? Whenever we move to our new studio here in a couple weeks, we'll have a different table.
Okay.
It's going to be
I mean,
oak.
it's nice.
It's going to be
It's
stained.
sturdy.
Yeah.
I like the color.
Yeah. I would like it to not have this like
Foamy mesh thingy.
top, you know.
More solid.
Yeah.
Was it
I understand
pleather?
that.
Pleather.
Yeah. I was actually talking about that with Rachel earlier when we were running errands about, because I'm going to build the table. And I was trying to decide what design, you know, what kind of table to build.
I want cup holders on the table.
It ain't going to be that fancy, bro.
Come on, cell phone
Deep-
chargers.
It's
sit
gonna
there
be
and
like-
Deep dish cup,
Four
cup
2 by
holders are up high.
It'll be like 4 2x4s across some sawhorses.
Okay.
He's going Louisiana style table.
Yeah. Could you play Texas Hold'em on there?
You could.
Yeah.
Probably not very well, but
But you could do it.
you could do it. Yeah. No, whatever I build is going to be, I'm going to make sure that I do it right.
Oh, yeah,
and
no doubt.
Nice.
You put the epoxy
So-
on top, like what they've been doing with the floors and
Clear
stuff.
coat.
You know, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to. I will stain it and coat it, you know, but I don't know that I'm going to, because that epoxy, man, it's real easy to mess it up,
It is.
and you get those air bubbles and all of that stuff.
Who do you have in here, man? Like my microphone just moved.
That's the,
Did you see that?
This is an old farm.
Did you
land.
see that?
yeah.
It
Did you
just
know that?
moved. Now my foot may have accidentally hit it. I'm not going to say that's what happened, but it's a possibility. But we do know that the microphone moved. But it's back and we're squared away now. Let's keep going.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So back on topic. So let's start out.
Oh, wow. What's there to say? Raised by a single parent. Worked 2 jobs at times. Strongest woman I ever knew. She raised 5 kids while taking care of her father before he passed away. My mom, by that way. My mom is 82 years old. Can I plug her book?
Sure.
Toil and Grace is the name of her book by Roosevelt Hampton. You can order it on Amazon. Don't ask me how much it costs. I kind of got a freebie.
She didn't make you pay for it?
I may have got a freebie.
One more time with the title.
Toil and Grace by Ozella Hampton. Ozella Hampton, just like the spelling of the Hampton Inn. So, my mom raised 5 kids. I was the baby. There's almost 18 years difference between me and my next sibling. Yeah, go figure, right? So I was that, not oops, but I thought I was done.
Mm-hmm.
So then you had me. And I didn't know this, but back in this would have to be 76, right? Since my mom was older, and I heard this from her, since she was older, the doctor was like, well, Miss Hampton, you have ovarian cysts the size of golf balls. And so we're not sure if your baby's going to make it. We suggest that you, I don't know what you would say, the political term would be
Terminate.
abort the baby.
terminate the pregnancy.
Right. And we know she didn't because I'm here. So that's kind of where my journey begins. A little rocky. Then I come into this world, 4 pounds, 2 ounces. I'm in the incubator. I think that's what you call it, the little plastic bubble.
Yep.
And then I lose weight. I lose, I think, 1.5 pounds. And so I started off fighting. And I guess in some ways I feel like I've been fighting ever since. Graduated from college. Well, let me rewind because there's a story there. When I was in high school, I wasn't a star by any means, but my mom made sure that I was active. Baseball, soccer, band, football, track, everything, so that I wouldn't become a statistic. And I can remember it was my senior year, and my weightlifting coach, which was almost like a mentor to me, he said, "So, Roosevelt, what are you going to do after high school?" I went to a military high school, semi-military. And I said, "Well, I'm not sure. I think I'm going to join the Army or the Marine Corps. I haven't made my decision yet." He said, "What about college?" I said, "Well, I can't really afford to go to college. Got some partial scholarships, but nothing big." So he said, "Well, there's a gentleman by the name of Dan Stanley. You remember my friend Dan Stanley?" And I said, "The guy who brought his football players up to here for you to teach them how to power lift?" He goes, "Yeah. He saw you in the gym that day. He asked me a few questions, and he's watched you over the last 2 years. And he wants to offer you a full ride scholarship to Missouri Valley." Oh, come on, man. Yeah, I mean, this is out of the clear blue. This is after lunch. And I'm like, you're playing with me, right? He says, "No, I'm really not playing with you. Can he give you a call?" So I'll give him the number. He calls my mom. 2 days later, he's sitting in my living room. This is something off of TV for me. Mind you, I wasn't a star. I wasn't a blue chipper. I had good work ethic and determination, and I never quit. Maybe that's what he saw. I don't know. Long story short, I get a football scholarship to Missouri Valley. Now you're asking your question, the same thing I was asking myself at the time. Where is Missouri Valley? I've never heard of this place before, right?
Yeah.
Well, Missouri Valley is in a small town, 75 miles east of, let's say, the Blue Springs area, off 65 Highway. And in that small town of Marshall, there's a college, Missouri Valley College. And I didn't know this, but my freshman year when I was in a marching band, we actually performed at their halftime show. So when I got, I was like, things start coming back to me.
Yep.
So I go on Good Friday, I remember, 1996. Me, my sister, my niece and nephew, my mom was out of town. We go to Missouri Valley College. I get to walk around. And I can't believe it. I'm still in shock because you figure I was 18 at the time. No one in my family, per se, had ever gotten an athletic scholarship. And here was, I was at the college level, now potentially getting ready to pursue my dream of playing football. Because you all get that speech, last game. Well, guys, enjoy this. This may be some of y'all's last football game you'll ever play. So I'm like, okay. So I'm taking it all in. I get there, I accept. Fall 1996, I show up. But I wasn't able to play that year. Why? Because in high school, it wasn't about grades. It was about being eligible to play. Well, in order to be eligible to play, there's a couple of things you have to do. You have to score a minimum score on an ACT or SAT. Be in the top half of your graduating class, or have an overall GPA of, I want to say, 2.8. I had one of those. I had the GPA. After taking the ACT multiple times, I didn't get the required score. I wasn't in the top half. So then you hear about this thing, red shirt. Red shirt freshman. Well, what is that? Well, I'll explain that to you. Red shirt freshman is when you come to school, whatever sport that is you're playing, you get to work out with the team. You still get school paid for. You just can't officially play that year until you prove to them that you can meet the academic requirements. So after See, the first semester, I met the academic requirements, but I didn't meet the academic requirements. My freshman year in college, after never being sick, never having anything worse than a common cold, I was diagnosed with a rare kidney disease 2 months into my freshman year of college. I had to get up every morning, work out with the team, exercise and lift, and I feel this tightness, but I feel it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know that pump that you have after you lift? Mm-hmm. Well, I had that all the time. And I felt like I had to use the bathroom more frequent than normal. So I told my mom, I said, hey, Mom, you know, something's not right here. I came home that weekend, and we know what edema is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could squeeze my leg, and it was like squeezing into a thing of dough. It went in probably a half an inch deep. That's how much fluid buildup I had on my body. So it wasn't that I was getting buff.
Yeah.
It was all fluid.
Yeah.
So let's say school started in August. This was around October. Long enough to finish one full semester. So October, November timeframe. And that's when they diagnosed me with, they called it minimal change disease, or the technical term is Nephrotic Syndrome. It's when I was spewing protein. I wasn't keeping it. I was keeping the fluid, but spewing out everything else. The fluid wasn't being relieved from my kidneys. So I went from a 19-year-old at this time, freshman, sky's the limit, right? I'm getting ready to play football in college, and I get diagnosed with a kidney disease, and I can't go back to school. Not only can I not go back to school, I can only drink 3 8-ounce cups of liquid a day, preferably water. I was bedridden because of, which your kidneys affect a lot of things. I didn't know this, but they really do. So I was low on potassium. Since my kidneys weren't working right, it affected my cholesterol. So my cholesterol was like 980. So the reason I was bedridden is because I could have had a heart attack or a stroke just walking. I was on the no sodium diet. I went from 185 to 280. I was 185 when I started at Missouri Valley in August. And by January, I was 280 pounds. I was on every medication known to man. Furosemide, which I believe is the water pill.
Furosemide, yeah.
I was on a cholesterol pill. I was on a pill to combat the effects of this pill. I was on 4 or 5 medications. And because of my potassium, I would
Cramps.
dry heave and I would cramp. And my hands would lock up.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about depressed, man. My mom was retired at the time, so she was able to take care of me for the most part. Well, who wants their mom taking care of them? Me, you're 19 years old.
Yeah. No, you should be out in college playing football.
Exactly. So going from, and I didn't understand the seriousness of it until my mom took me to one of the appointments that I had. And the nurse said to me when she came back in the room, she said, "You're a very sick young man." And I didn't know what she meant, you know. My mom did. And I was on the verge of dialysis at 19. But with the medications and my doctor, Max Glazier, my nephrologist, awesome guy, going to see him in his direction, I was able to get better. And I didn't know this, but some colleges have what they call a Jan term. Now, mind you, I'm keeping in touch with my coach, Coach Dan Stanley, this entire time. Coach, you know, I'm not sure when I'll be able to come back, but I want to come back. He's like, okay, you know, we'll even keep your room for you. We'll just withdraw you from all your classes. But you're still a student, but really not a student.
Yeah.
So January comes around. I'm like, Mom, I want to go back to school. We go see Dr. Glazier. He's like, okay, you can go back to school, but don't overdo it. So January term is like a summer school class that you take. And I believe I took, I don't know, I'm not sure, maybe 6 credits, 2 classes, maybe 3. And I can remember being in class and I'm writing and my hand would just lock up like this and I would have to pry it. I made it through that. Prior to leaving school, I didn't have a roommate. I lived in a fraternity house, Sigma Nu. So my coach calls me. He's like, hey, we got a JUCO transfer coming in. You're going to have a roommate. Okay? Excuse me. So I have a roommate now, great guy from Newport News, Virginia. His name is Jerry Davis. Taught me a lot. So I made it through that. This is where it gets interesting. In order to be eligible to play football the following year, I had to get 21 credit hours. I had from January to August to get 21 credit hours. I took 16 credit hours during a semester, and I took 1 summer school class. No, 2, because I wanted to be sure. It was a writing class. I had to read 2 books and write a paper over each book. 97 comes around. Your boy's still, 265. Now I'm a running back.
No, you're an offensive lineman now.
But I look like a lineman. Or should I say a nose tackle or nose guard or maybe even a center at my height. So I get back to school and it's like, wow, I made it, I didn't recognize myself. No one recognized me because of the weight. So that was the first 2 years, or shall I say the first full year of my college experience. So that's why I say I'm a fighter, because I've always had to overcome something. I'm going to tell this story. It happened my junior year. It's my junior year in college. At this point, I've got 2 years of football under my belt. 2-a-days in the heat, conference champ, Wheat Bowl game. Got to play in the Wheat Bowl. So I come back to school, and I'm spending the night with a friend, actually off campus. Nothing's happening really. I just spent the night over there. It's good to get away from campus life. Everybody's in your business. So I spend the night with her. The next day I'm in class. I believe it's biology. I'm in biology class. I get pulled out. Why am I getting pulled out of biology class? The dean of students knew my struggle from being sick and coming back. So she kind of took a liking to me. And she's like, well, Roosevelt, we have some serious accusations about you. I'm like, what accusations? Well, we were told by a young lady that sometime throughout the night, last night, you broke into her dorm room and tried to attack her. And her father and her family are pressing charges. Now imagine this woman was Caucasian. We know I'm an African-American male. I'm in a small town college. I've never been in trouble a day in my life. And this is a pretty serious accusation. Her mother and father are some big wigs up in St. Louis somewhere. And you're pulling me out of class. So now I've got another battle to face. Another journey. So she said, you might want to call your mom and see about getting a lawyer or someone coming down here. We'll let you know as the process goes further. I said, okay. So I called my mom. The next day, mom wasn't able to make it, but my sister and brother came down. And they put me and the young lady that I spent the night with in 2 separate rooms. So they had me write what happened, and they had her write what happened. A couple of days go by. Nothing comes of it. I'm at football practice, or I'm going to the locker room, and a buddy of mine that was a JUCO transfer is now playing for Missouri Valley also. He's like, hey, Roosevelt, man, I heard some things about you. I'm like, man, you know me. We went through high school together. He said, you know that's not true. He's like, I know, but watch out. Because her boyfriend plays soccer. So just watch out. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm not worried about it. Go to practice. Mysteriously, after the whistle, we're practicing for the upcoming game. My ankle, smash, boom. So now I'm done. Can't play anymore that year. I'm done. So my mom is worrying about my safety. So she writes to school. She's like, hey, why is my son, and I forgot to tell you this part. We were in the same class. I was in the same class with this young lady. Well, since she was frightened of me, instead of kicking me out of the school, they kicked me out of the class. So now I go to night class. I think it was biology. So now I'm going to class at night, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So my mom had an issue with that. Well, they changed the lighting system. I'm at home one weekend, a month goes by. No charges are pressed. I don't go back in. I don't get an apology. Nothing. They catch the guy while I'm at home one weekend with my mom. They catch the guy. He's from Florida. The only thing we have in common is we're both African American. He got busted. But when you make that kind of an accusation, people still have opinions.
Oh, yeah.
And they're still going to look at you different and treat you a certain way. So although I enjoyed my time at Missouri Valley and I learned a lot, I got a degree. I majored in psychology, which that's a battle also. I started with education. Testing was a big deal for me. Like I said, the ACT. So when you major in education, you have to take it's almost like a standardized test. Before you can teach kids, they have to know that you know this information yourself. Well, after 2 or 3 tries and not making a minimal score, I just changed my major to psychology. So that is my college experience.
So going from there, what made you want to get on the fire department?
Oh, well, that's an awesome story. So check this out. I was 6 years old, and I remember Miss Hamilton was my teacher. And the fire truck came. I think they were fluorescent green back then.
Yes, they were.
They would have been.
Yes, they were.
They were fluorescent green, right?
Yeah.
So the guys come, and we're all on the sidewalk, and they put all the gear on. Excuse me. And I tell you, there was a lot of screaming and crying. So guess what happened? Yeah. They hauled us back into the school. But that always stuck in my mind. I was really intrigued and excited. There's been 2 things I've been excited about for as long as I can remember. The military and the fire department. Right?
Yeah.
So my mom, her second oldest sister, or third or fourth oldest sister, my aunt lived with us for a short time. Well, my aunt had diabetes. At one particular night, I'm gonna have to say I know I was in high school, maybe a freshman or sophomore, and she went into a diabetic coma. And so I grew up midtown of the city I was raised in, and the fire department came, and to see them kick in and not really take charge, but just jump right in there and get to work on my aunt. I was like, wow, this is awesome. I think I want to do this someday. Now let's fast forward. I went to college with an individual whose dad was a chief. I graduated college. I got a job as a youth counselor not too far from Marshall, where I went to college. But I was still working as a personal trainer at the local YMCA. This individual's like, hey, man, my dad said they're hiring. You want to go apply with me? I'm like, apply? Yeah, sure. Let's do this. You know, I still had a Kansas City address. Kind of, sort of. It was still on my license, let's put it that way. Yeah. So I go, oh, boy. So
all right, just keep going.
Yeah. I tried, guys.
Maybe somebody can figure out how to edit things where you can go beep,
Yeah. So
Probably not going to happen.
what happened? I go home. I sign up. I take the test. Everything's good, right? At the time, I'm real active in the church that I go to. And I had dated a young lady. Things didn't work out. So now I'm excited. I'm like, wow, I'm getting ready to go back home. I know I passed the test, but I'm not getting any calls. So I called my sister, said, hey, have I received a letter from the fire department? She's like, no, I don't see any mail. They may have called, but I don't have an answer machine. I wouldn't know. I'm like, dang, okay. So now I have a letter, and it's saying, hey, you're number 26 on the list. I'm like, wow, well, I guess I won't be in this academy class. Fast forward 2 weeks.
Little did you know.
Little did I know. Fast forward 2 weeks. Now I'm dating another young lady, but I'm not really dating her because I don't really want to get involved because I have high hopes of leaving this small town and pursuing what I want to do, which is be a fireman. Man, I get a call from the chief. He's like, Rosie, do you want this job? I'm like, yeah, chief, I want this job. They've been trying to call you for 3 days. You need to be at this location on this date. Done. Consider it done. I leave. I let my job know, hey, here's my 2 weeks. I've got to go. Went back home. Started they had the little orientation downtown. Then I started the academy. Now, mind you, I'm still kind of talking to the young lady that I didn't really want to get involved with because I knew I was coming back to the city. Things happened. That young lady, mind you, is now my wife. It'll be 18 years in January, just so you know. So we get married, me and that young lady. I graduate the academy. 2 months later, I'm married. 6 months later, I have to resign from my job. Again, the battle is on, right? The struggle is, the battle comes back. It's like, okay, well, hey. I look back at my past. God helped me get through all of those issues. Now I'm here. The same guy, yesterday, today, and forevermore. So I'm going to keep it moving. So what happened was I had to resign. I found the earliest EMT class because that's why I had to leave. I didn't.
It was a national registry test.
Yeah.
That test is
designed to fail.
It's ridiculous.
It's a money grab is what it is.
Yeah.
And what I've learned now is earlier in my life, I put this label on myself actually of having issues with tests. Because it's all about your perspective. I could have said, well, I just need to study more and I'll eventually pass. But I developed this phobia. So it was I was like almost defeating myself before I even started.
Yeah, dude, and we've talked about that so much about perspective and how important it is because it doesn't really matter what you're going through. What matters is your perspective of what you're going through. If you look at it as a challenge and an opportunity to better yourself, then you're going to be okay. But if you look at it as this is the worst thing in the world, it's beating me down, then guess what? That's your mindset. You're going to get beat down.
Exactly. And you said it, your mindset. It's amazing how, they say, well, the cup is half empty. Well, I see the cup is half full. It's perspective. And based off what your perspective is, that's how the outcome is going to be. And that's your life. So now I don't put that stigma on myself. Although I've had to test multiple times in my life, I no longer put that stigma on me. It's just going to take me longer than the average person. I learn differently. So I'm a newlywed per se. I no longer have a career. My wife is a nurse. She's the breadwinner. So in my mind, growing up the way I grew up, if you're not working, your woman's not going to stick around much longer. I grew up knowing that a man provides. Although my mom took care of me, I could see other people and their dynamics of their home. I mean, let's go to TV. You know, you watch TV, the man works, the man provides, Leave It to Beaver. You know, Ward went to work. His wife stayed home, he provided. So in my culture, in my upbringing, if you were a man and you didn't have a job, you were a deadbeat. So unconsciously, I'm thinking, okay, now I no longer have a career. My wife's going to leave me. That wasn't the case. Like I said, it'd be 18 years here pretty soon. But that was my mindset. That was my psyche. It's kind of gone. These new, I don't know what's going on with this young generation, but I guess in some way, it became cool to have your woman take care of you, and you just sit in the passenger seat while she's pumping gas. But that's a whole nother topic. So,
Well, the whole gas thing I get.
yeah, well,
I pump my gas. Equality, man. It's all about quality. You want gas? It's your car. You got 2 legs, 2 arms. Start pumping.
yes, you sound like my brother-in-law. You guys will get along great.
I'll open a door. I'll pump your gas. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. Don't bitch at me when I do something.
I'll try not to.
Don't preach equality and then you want me to do everything for you. That's not equality.
Well, actually,
or you want more than me than I have. That's not equality. You want equality? I'll give it to you, but you're not going to like it. Sign up for the draft, just like I do.
Way to go, Rosie. You put it on a soapbox.
Yeah, how you like that one?
That's not what I was trying to do, but I appreciate that perspective. I truly do. But that was my concern at the time.
Right. Well, it is a valid concern. I mean, I was raised the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, Dad goes to work. Mom, my mom stayed home for a long time. I mean, I think she got a job whenever I was in high school, but me and my sister were older, and she wanted something to do, not just stay at home, because I grew up out in the fucking sticks, so it was just her and the
by
dogs.
sticks, he means the swamp.
The swamp?
The swamp.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few states that have swamps.
Well, Louisiana, that's where I grew up.
Louisiana.
See, both of my parents worked.
Yeah.
My entire life. But mom still did most of the if you go by gender role, she did the cooking and most of the cleaning and laundry. Dad helped clean on the weekends. But during the week, it was sports. They were running 2 kids all over the city. And that was when we lived in Illinois.
Yeah.
So it's a little bigger of a city.
That's weird. It's kind of interesting because you have different dynamics, right? Mm-hmm. So you guys grew up with both your mom and your dad in the same home.
Yeah.
That was not the norm. That was very uncommon. So I saw my mom do all the working, do all the cooking, do all the cleaning, do all the yard work until I got older and I could do the yard work. So it's different perspectives. And when me and my wife first got married, I wasn't that you got to stay home. I'm going to work. You can't work. You're going to raise the kids. That wasn't the norm in my era of growing up. By the time I'll say 23, 24, it takes 2 incomes to have a functional family.
Well, anymore, it absolutely does.
Yeah, almost takes 3.
Yeah.
That's why I work overtime all the time.
3.
Yeah.
So by me losing my job, I just felt like I wasn't doing my part to take care of my wife. And so I had a part-time job when I was a fireman that now has become my full-time job while I go to EMT school 2 nights a week. So I go to EMT school. I'm back on the fire department maybe a year later from the time I had to resign. And not even a year later, maybe 9 months later. And earlier I told you about the military. Well, that was still a hunger inside of me. I had tried after college. That's another journey. So when I was diagnosed with the kidney disease, that's in my medical history. So when you go to MEPS, Medical Insurance Processing Center, right?
Yep.
Processing station. They ask you a lot of questions. And I was honest about these questions all 4 times that they asked them. And so the first time they denied me, the Army National Guard denied me. My buddy was like, hey, you're not married. You don't have any kids. you're pretty fit. How about you go active? And I'm like, yeah. Like, he hit me with this, and he's like, you can go airborne. He hit me with that one, right?
I'm going to go jump out of a perfectly good airplane.
Yeah.
Nope.
I'm like, awesome. He said, you can pick your job. You can pick any skill. You can travel the world. I said, now are we waiting on? He's like, oh, don't worry about it. You just go to the active duty recruiter. They get their waivers back a lot faster than the Army National Guard does. All right, let's make it happen. Yeah, he was right. Within 2 weeks, I got the denial from the active duty Army. And then maybe a month later, I got the denial from the Army National Guard. Deny me. That's twice, right? Fast forward, I'm married now. Babe, you know, I don't have my job anymore. How do you feel about being an Army wife? Okay, you know, her dad was in the Army National Guard for 23 years. Her stepdad was a SEAL for 10 years. So she knows a little bit about the military life, right? Cool, no problem. I apply again. They deny me. Now I'm getting ticked off because you're denying me, right? Now, I'm being honest. I have a clean bill of health. I no longer have minimal change, nephrotic syndrome. The doctor signed off on it. So now I'm taking it personal, like, you guys are denying me, and I'm being honest. So I called my councilman, Councilman Sam Graves. He said, sir, there's nothing I can do. They're within their rights to deny you. You did have this condition. I can respect that. Okay, so that's number 3. 2 years later, the itch is still there. I'm on the fire department now. Now I'm a dad. My baby girl was born 2005 May. 2006 May. And I'm still thinking about it. My wife's like, okay, you can try again if you want. I try again. April 2007. Guess what happens? I'm in April 2007, right? After 5 tries, took the ASVAB 3 times. The doctors almost knew me by name at the MEP station. I didn't have to write a letter. I didn't have to contact my congressman. I just had to go to a doctor of their choice. Once I was cleared, I'm in. So now I'm in the Army National Guard, right? Awesome. But I picked the job that came with the bonus. I didn't know that there was a reason.
The recruiter lied to you too.
The bonus was big because the severity of the job. So that was an 88 Mike, truck driver.
Yeah, you
was
mean
the time.
IED finder?
Yes.
big moving target.
Big boom.
Slow moving.
Slow, big slow, big target.
But it was a big bonus. Did I say that there was a big bonus?
Yes, you said that.
Yeah, it was a big bonus. And the school was real short. It was like 8 or 9 weeks, in addition to basic training, which was like 10 weeks. So my baby is 1. She turned 1 that May. And I'm getting ready to leave for basic training. Now my buddy, who's the recruiter, he's telling me, hey.
He's not your buddy.
He's not your buddy. Yeah.
Well, you know, actually.
Your buddy wouldn't lie to you.
Yeah.
He told me, he said, Rose, you can pick whatever you want to pick. He said, but just know it's not a matter of if, but when you go downrange. Downrange means Iraq, Afghanistan.
Well, yeah, you joined right about the time of the surge, too.
Right. And so I leave my house for basic training August 2007. I come back to my house December 2007. I leave my house again February 2008. I don't come back home until April 2009. There was a break there where I was home for a couple of weeks. So that was deployment number 1. I've got a 2-year-old now. She's now 2. And when she would look at me in the Skype, because that's the only way I had to communicate when I was deployed the first time, she thought I was in the computer. And she would say, my wife would be like, who are you? Who are you? And she like, Daddy's #1 fan. Daddy's #1 fan. But yeah, that was so now I'm in the Army. I'm on the fire department. I got the best of both worlds. Everything is great, right? Yes, it appeared to be that way. What I didn't know was whether you're in a combat zone or not, that much time away from your wife and your kids and being in that kind of environment, there's a stress load that everybody can't bear. And the way to, they say, exercise, and I found this out from a general, the reason they encourage exercising and working out is because when you build your physical body, you can handle more stress.
Yeah, by exercising, you're releasing a bunch of chemicals in your brain that helps combat that mental stress.
Exactly.
Fatigue that you're feeling. Yeah. That's why, I mean, a lot of therapists, I mean, especially that deal with our population, stress, exercise so much, is because it really is very helpful.
It really is. It's like it's a super stress reliever. It's almost like it became an addiction for me whenever I deployed. It became an addiction because it kept my mind off of my wife and my baby. My daughter, only had one at the time. It took my mind off of them, but it kept me focused. It kept me motivated. I was able to just stay focused on me and the mission and better myself physically so that I would be in better shape and then able to exercise and work and do the things with my little girl that I wanted to do. And when I came home, I did those things, you know. I played, I enjoyed her. Me and my wife were doing great. Everything was good at that time. It still is, but I mean, but you have what I like to call storms or valleys or pits, low points in life. And exercising over there transitioned to home, which allowed me to endure those low times a lot easier than I would if I wasn't in good physical shape. Because let me speak for myself. When I'm not in physical shape, I kind of look at myself, I get down, I kind of like, man, I'm just letting myself go, you know what I mean? Because I came from that athletic background, and I've always taken pride in that. So to not continue to do that, I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm letting myself down. So now I'm back from my first deployment. It's 2009. I get a phone call. I forgot to explain the rank structure, but since I have a college degree, I had two options. I can go in as an officer, or I can go in enlisted and come in as a specialist instead of an E2, okay? Which is a pay grade rank. I chose the E4 route. One, I didn't score high enough on the ASVAB. We're back to the test. Yeah, I had to get a GT of 110. That's a score that you have to get in order to become an officer. And I knew I didn't get that. So I went the NCO route or the enlisted route. And so I get a call. Hey, Specialist Hampton, would you like to be a sergeant in this unit? Really? Yeah. Awesome. So now I'm officially an NCO. I'm an E5 sergeant in the Army National Guard. I go to a transportation unit. My brother-in-law at the time was also in that unit with me. He's since gone active. But I'm in that unit, so this is 2009. I drill, I'm on the fire department. Everything is great. Me and my wife's relationship is great. We've gone to a couple of marriage seminars. Strong bonds retreats is what they call them. But they do this thing called yellow ribbon. Yellow ribbon is to help you and your family get integrated back to one another after you've been gone on a deployment. So we go through all of that. Everything went great. I'm in my new unit. I show up first time September 2009. September 2009. We had a PT test in October because October is the beginning of the new fiscal year. Have a PT test. Do well on the PT test. Mind you, I'm an E5. They have NCO schools that you have to go to in order to be eligible for the next promotion. On my first appointment, I went to one of these schools. That's why I was able to get my E5. Take the PT test. A month or two later, hey, Sergeant Hampton, would you like to go to BNOC Phase 2? Yeah, sure. Okay, you need to be in Ashland, Nebraska on this date. Sure, no problem. I go to Ashland, Nebraska. 2009. Come back. The next year, hey, Sergeant Hampton, would you like to go to BNOC Phase 3 and 4? Where is this? Newport News, Virginia. I'm sorry, I can't remember where it was in Virginia. Yeah, Newport News, Virginia. Sure, I'll go. So I'm going to all these military schools, volunteering. Nothing about it was mandatory. And I'm leaving my wife and my baby. And it was like, now that I think about it, in that time, I was so caught up in serving that I kind of neglected home. I don't think I ever really transitioned all the way back into civilian life because I felt really comfortable in the uniform and going to all these different schools. So whenever one came about, I was all over it. Now we're 2010. If you know anything about the Army National Guard, you deploy every couple of years. So I have to go to California, 2 weeks of training. I get back from California. 2011 comes around. You guys are going to, at first it was Kuwait. Okay, not a problem. Then it changed to Afghanistan. Now there's a problem. and the only reason I say that is because Kuwait really wasn't hostile at that time. I mean, they were still building, but it wasn't hostile as much. Afghanistan was a hot spot.
Yeah.
2011, 2010 for that matter. And so my wife and I'm like, oh man, okay. So now you're really thinking, because my first deployment was more of a peacekeeping. Afghanistan's a whole nother demon.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. Well, I write the letter. If you guys don't know what the letter is the letter to your wife or your spouse or your loved one. If I don't come home, this is how I feel about you, and these are my wishes, as well as your will and testament and all of these other things. Mm-hmm. So I deploy. Within my first month of being in our range, I experienced my first explosion, my first bomb. Not to mention the Afghanistan heat. We won't talk about that, but this is July in the Middle East. Just let your creativity go about itself. So I'm in Afghanistan. Boom. Things happen. People get injured. At the time, because of my rank, I'm a sergeant. I'm not driving. I'm a TC, which is the truck commander. So I had my specific truck, and we did security for convoys in and out of Afghanistan. That was my job. So after multiple explosions, multiple gunfire, things that you experience in war situation, I'm almost home, right? I'm almost home. I've done my year just about. I'm almost home. And I get a red call. I get a call from my wife. Honey, you are a good son. Okay. Why are you telling me I was a good son? Roosevelt passed. No, Roosevelt is talking to you on the phone. No, baby, your dad passed away. What? Okay. So I go to the TOC, Tactical Operations Center. I said, hey, I just found out from my wife, my dad passed away. They're like, yeah, we just got the Red Cross. We were going to send someone over. Do you want to go? Now I'm contemplating this, believe it or not. Do I want to leave this environment to go back home and bury my dad, knowing I have to come back to this environment? And do I want to deal with the emotions and everything that comes with burying your father? Me and my dad weren't close. We weren't enemies, but we weren't close. I know now my dad kept his distance from me and my wife because my dad was born and raised in Mississippi. My wife is a Caucasian female. He was never mean. He never said anything bad. He just stayed away. Now I found this out after he passed. So there was not a lot of closeness there as much as I tried. So I'm dealing with that now. I fly home, C-130. I get home. The fire department, believe it or not, is who contacted my mom because they knew my dad. They knew my name, and they knew my name was Roosevelt Hampton. They put two and two together. Hey, I think his son's on the fire department. Let's contact his captain. And so that's how my mom and that's how they found out about it and told my wife. And so that's ultimately how I found out. So thank God for the fire department. But I get home and bury my dad. They don't send me back. Which was a good thing. I was forward support. They let me go back to our mobbing station and prep for my unit to return, which they were a month out. No, 2 weeks. They were 2 weeks out. So we get back. I get back. I'm dealing with the experiences of being downrange in a combat situation. I'm dealing with the loss of my dad. And I'm dealing with, you know what, I got back and I realized, man, civilian life, there's some ungrateful so-and-sos out here, you know?
Do tell.
It made me cringe for someone to say, man, it's hot. Do you know that it's 115, 120 by noon in the Middle East? Do you know it's like to lay in a tent, no AC, no air, and you're just sweating your life away?
Hey, you signed up for it.
I sure did.
I remember when he came back from Afghanistan. He was wearing a sweatshirt in the summertime. Like, what are you doing? I'm cold. I get it.
You know what's funny is when you're over there and you see the women and the men in these long robes is what I call them. Like, aren't you hot? When your skin is covered, believe it or not, and you sweat, you get kind of cool. It's kind of like a cooling mechanism versus having your clothes off per se, and now your skin is exposed to the direct heat.
That's why you'll see people who are gardeners and mowers. They'll wear long sleeves that sweat.
Right.
And they stay cool all day.
And the heat is not hitting their skin directly.
Yeah, it works better in a really dry climate.
Yeah,
like, you're not going to see that in, Southeast Asia or Louisiana for that matter.
Oh yeah. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's a different kind of heat, but it's still.
Yeah. I mean, heat is heat. And I thought everybody else was jacked up, I thought civilians didn't appreciate their freedoms, different things like that, because I was dealing with some things inside myself. And then me and my wife started having some issues. She brought to my attention, hey, babe, do you know? Now, mind you, I was never really a drinker before. She said, honey, you drink every night? Really? No, I don't. She's like, yeah, you do. I didn't sleep anymore. So I would drink every night that I wasn't working to go until I fell asleep or passed out. And then I'd get up and come to bed. Now, I wasn't belligerent and acting a fool. It was just me in my house by myself with my wife and my daughter. Well, actually, my wife is pregnant about this time with my second. And so she said, you might want to stop drinking so much. I don't like that. I said, okay, not a problem. So I stopped drinking. And one particular evening, my wife was at work, and it was me and my oldest and the baby now. And I scared myself because my oldest, I let her watch TV or do something. Excuse me. I told her it was bath time. And she didn't want to listen. And I flipped, like a switch flipped, because I told her to do something and she didn't want to do it. And she gave me a hard time. That was never me. And I didn't spank her or put my hands on her or anything like that. But that emotion that I felt behind her not doing what I told her to do kind of freaked me out a little bit. And my wife saw that. So the next day she says, honey, you scared me last night. What's going on? And I'm like, nothing. I'm fine. You know, she didn't do what I told her to do. And so that's normal. You get upset when your kids don't do what you tell them to do. Well, that was like from 0 to maybe 5 upset on the level in which she wasn't doing things she was supposed to do. I went to 100. And like I said, that's not me. So that's when I went to the VA and got signed up. I was on my way to another military school because I found that if I stay locked in,
stay busy. I don't think about all
stay
that
busy,
shit.
man. I'm not on the fire department. I'm on the fire department. I'm not at the fire department. I'm driving trucks. If I'm not driving trucks from a civilian part-time job, I'm in my uniform, serving 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year, in theory, mind you. And I'm going to any school they'll send me to. You got air assault school? Send me to air assault school. Went to air assault school twice. Ammo 62 course? Send me to that. Went to that every year. Ferguson? Now, that wasn't choice. That was state emergency. But I did that also. So I found as long as I keep busy, I'm good. Then I get a phone call. Now, mind you, I'm dealing with all this. And the VA prescribed me some meds to help me sleep. Some things like that to help with my anxiety. My nephew died suddenly in a fatal car accident. Now I'm dealing with that. And I forgot to tell you, the next trauma after my dad passing away in 2012, my baby coded and we couldn't hold her, touch her because she was in the NICU for the first month and a half of her life. No, 28 days, something like that. It was like 21 days. We brought her home. She stopped breathing. She was in for another 4 or 5 days. So now I'm dealing with that trauma of losing my baby. Then the next year, I lose my nephew. And I'm still coping with coming to terms that, hey, guy, you may have PTSD and you don't even know it. Because I'm thinking everybody else is screwed up, right? But it's me that's the one that has the issue. So I make it through that, counseling, couples counseling through the VA for me and my wife both. Individual counseling through the VA. We go to an outside Christian-based counseling, me and my wife, because everything is a battle. You know what I mean? I feel like everything is a battle. Everything is coming at me, and I'm not sure how to deal with it. But when I put the uniform on, and now I'm Staff Sgt. Hampton, I feel like as though I'm in my element. When I'm in the fire department uniform and I'm serving others and doing things that way, I'm in my element. But just being home to relax with your kids, I couldn't do that. I mean, it's crazy. Like, I couldn't allow myself to relax enough to absorb a hug from either one of my daughters or my wife, to just truly let your guard down and embrace a hug.
Well, you're primed.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't sleep. My sleep schedule's still kind of off. But so open and honest and transparent. There was times where I would just go in my vehicle and contemplate, I think my wife and kids would be better off without me. If I just drive my car, my truck at the time, into this wall or off this ditch or off this bridge, they would get my life insurance. They'd be better off. And I thought this. I can remember one particular night, my oldest did something, and I went from 0 to 100 again. Didn't put my hands on her or anything like that, but my voice escalated. And it scared her, and it scared me. My wife come home, she says, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." She said, "Are you thinking about doing something to yourself?" I said, "Not right now." I never said I wasn't thinking about doing anything to myself. I just said, "Not right now." So that was kind of my never being that way before. That was kind of my introduction to, wow, man, like, I really think I'd be better off without him. If I wasn't here, I wouldn't be raising my voice at anybody. I wouldn't be causing anybody pain. Me and my wife wouldn't be getting into it. My daughters wouldn't be crying because daddy and mommy are getting into it. None of that would take place. So it wasn't until, wow, I'm not even sure what the breakthrough was. But something, a switch flipped. I know what it was. I started seeing a different psychologist, whoever prescribes the medications.
Yeah.
The psychiatrist, I believe.
Yeah. Psychiatrist, I think.
The psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And just talking with him frequently, every week if I had to, just getting things off my chest. And then my wife also doing her due diligence to understand, okay, he's this way, and you can't approach him like you would, say, the normie who hasn't had the experiences that he's had. You don't stop him when he's trying to leave. You let him leave and do what he has to do. You don't try to block him or barricade him in. Just different things, triggers, time. I have this thing about time. It drives me crazy not to be on time. Because in the military, time is life and death.
Yeah.
Can be. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And they teach you that from basic training. Hey, on time is late and late is on time. If formations at 0700 and you're there at 0700, you're late because you should have been here at 0645. So there was things she had to learn. And as we get older, counseling, understanding more about ourselves, as far as me, digging into my word more, spending more time with God and praying and reading and allowing him to, I say, heal what was broke. That's kind of where I am today with it all. And I've seen my brothers as early as last year commit suicide that I serve with. So it's a serious situation. And what I've observed about soldiers, whether it's Marines, any of the branches of service, when you serve and you come home, you feel detached. You feel like no one understands. And from a National Guard standpoint, when you're active duty, you deploy as a unit, right? Mm-hmm. And you're probably on the same post or base, and the wives support each other, and you guys come back together, and you have each other. In the Army National Guard, this is Missouri. You got people as far as Joplin, St. Louis, Kansas City, all over the state. So you see them 1 week in a month. But during the rest of that month, they're doing their jobs, they're doing their careers, and there's nobody that you can talk to. Your mom don't understand. Your wife doesn't understand. Your kids don't understand. The only people that understand are your brothers, and they're secretly dealing with their own stuff too, and you don't want to bring it up because you don't want to trigger them.
Yeah.
So you just kind of block it out.
Yeah, dude, and that's the trap, and we've kind of talked about that, you know, and I've had conversations with friends of mine that, you know, have been overseas. It's the thing of the common theme seems to be guys are like, well, I'm having this problem, but nobody else is, you know, so something's wrong with me or whatever, but everybody's having the same problem.
Right.
You know, if just open your mouth and talk about it, you know, talk to somebody, you know, like you said, pick up your phone and call a brother. Hey, I'm struggling. Oh, no shit. Me too. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when you know him, but you don't, got a buddy of mine, Bart, that we had on the show. He was an SF guy. And we're talking about, you know, his old team and all of this stuff. He's like, dude, every one of them, you know, him included, all have terrible issues. All but one guy. And he said, well, he was a crappy SF guy anyway, but, you know, so, you know, it's kind of a joke, but it's like, yeah, you can't go over there and do what you guys did and see what you guys saw. War is going to touch you. If you touch war, it will touch you back. And you have to, you know, put into place those processes to allow yourself the time to heal from that, because you're not going to come back and you're not going to be the same.
Right.
You're going to be different, but you could be different better.
Right.
And that's why we talk about, and we've started to talk about it more, is the post-traumatic growth. Because, dude, I mean, everybody wants
such a stigma on that, man.
Dude, everybody wants to talk about, oh, PTSD or PTS and this. Yes, okay, we know. But guess what? You can have PTSD. You can get better. You can grow from that. And then, you know, if you choose to, you can help other people.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, that's the thing that really, I think, with the whole conversation about mental health and all of that stuff, that is the part that we do not talk about enough, is the growth part. Because you don't have to stay in the depression. You don't have to stay in the PTS. You don't have to stay in the PTSD. You can grow.
Yeah. I think it's, there was a stigma, PTSD. There's a lot of people that have PTSD and just don't know they have it. But it's, if you have a broken arm, I can see you have a broken arm.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't see you have PTSD. So I see, oh man, you're a normal guy. There's nothing wrong with you. You're good. But you don't know what I'm dealing with on the inside daily because of the things I've seen or possibly the things that I've done. What I've learned is I may have PTSD, but PTSD doesn't have me. So I can still function and be productive and enjoy my wife and enjoy my kids. But you have to learn those things over again. So when something foreign comes into your life that you're not used to, and you just can't take it out and throw it away, it's there. Now you have to learn how to function with it.
Yeah.
And that's just a matter of doing it. You have to just learn how to function. Mm-hmm. Don't let it debilitate you.
Yeah. That's that growth, man.
That's the growth,
yeah.
Bro. That's the growth. And I'm telling you, I will tell any and everybody that I've had it. I'm not ashamed to say that I have thought about committing suicide a number of times during my battle with it. But I've grown past that. And if you're, like you said, you're not the only one. It's almost like, you know, when I said when I was serving others,
mm-hmm.
that I felt comfortable, I felt normal. When you internalize everything, it becomes all about you with the whole peach. Oh, woe is me and this, that, and the other. I'm struggling. It's when you let it out,
yeah,
and let it be exposed to help others. then it doesn't have a hold on you anymore.
Yeah. Dude, I saw this great thing today, Warrior Poet Society with John Lovell, and I love that dude. He's awesome. But he was talking about how, courage for all of history, courage in every society has been like the thing. That's what everybody aspires for. There was a time where if somebody called you a coward, you'd go out back and, shoot each other to death over it, And now it's about who can be the biggest victim. And you see that with a lot of people that they won't get out of their way.
That's it, brother.
Take pride in having that courage to overcome. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I probably said it wrong, but
no.
You know where I was going.
Yeah, I know exactly where you were going. I wish more people would do that. I could go somewhere else with this, and I may touch on it a little bit if you guys are all right with it. I think the victim mentality is encouraged. That's why it's different.
Yeah.
In some walks of life, being a victim is kind of encouraged. Like, okay, you went through this. We'll show you pity, or we'll give you this, or handouts. No.
Well, and
it's not growth.
No, it's not growth. And I think the people that do that, I don't think it's from a malicious standpoint, because they want to help.
They're just not quite sure how.
They don't know how. And it's like, you got kids, I don't have kids. I have dogs. But I'm going to use a kid analogy here.
Okay.
So, learning how to tie their shoes, right?
Yeah.
You show them how, and then you let them do it. Well, what people tend to do in the whole victimhood and that conversation that we're having is they never let them tie their own shoes. They just are constantly, oh, your shoe's untied, let me tie it for you. Oh, your shoe's untied, let me tie it for you. No, let them take some responsibility. Let them succeed on their own at something.
Right.
And then, slowly in increments.
Well, I can see when you put that analogy out there, I can see how in some cases, as a parent, you always want more for your kids than what you had.
Right.
And that's how, at least that's how it's been in my case. But there's a fine line there. You can become an enabler. Because I am who I am today because of the struggles that I've had to overcome. If you have nothing to overcome because whomever is choosing to enable you, thinking that they're helping you, the minute that person is no longer around in the picture and you face something, now you crumble and you don't know how to make it. And I think that's what is kind of happening in certain aspects of our world today. We're crippling people thinking we're helping them.
Yeah.
I saw a deal said hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And we're kind of at the...
Weak men create bad times.
And weak men create bad times. And we're kind of at that weak men or person. You can change it to person if you want. Be politically correct. But
he talked about that today too. The John Lovell on Warrior Poet Society. That was the quote that he started off with.
Really?
It's 100% true.
That really is.
Times
that's
right
the third time that I've heard that in the past week.
Yeah, I've seen it on the Book of Faces. That's a whole other issue, but right now we've had so many years of good times. People complain about it. Oh, I don't have anything. My parents never give me anything, and they complain on their Twitter and their Facebook as they post from their iPhone and their car while they're sitting in front of Starbucks with their computer so they can write something for school that they're in that their parents are paying for with brand new shoes and jeans and shirt. Right. You have more than most other. There's countries where they don't have a fraction of that.
The example that he gave today, because he did a little video. So he said, just go back in history and look at the kings in England. He goes, they lived in these castles, right? But they still had to worry about where their next meal was coming from. They froze in the winter, baked in the summer, had no medicine, all this stuff. He goes, even pretty much the poorest people that live in our country today live in luxury compared to the kings of 500 years ago.
Or even other people I've had the liberty, serving and going different places. You see kids, like I would see kids, 4 or 5-year-old kids with pushing wheelbarrows down a dirt road with grass or twigs or stuff. And I'm thinking, wow, these little kids are out here getting it. And I asked my daughter to take out the trash or something. Dad, do I have to do it right now? Kind of thing. She doesn't do that anymore, mind you. But there was a time when that was the response. And it's like, and then you get upset. You're like, you don't understand how good you have it. Yep. I'm not asking you to build Rome. I'm asking you to take out the trash.
It's the same thing, Roosevelt. It's the same thing.
It must be,
But that's that's everywhere you look. People complain about how bad they have it, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else about complaining about a little bit of hard times. Don't shake your head like you're superior over there. You complain more than both of us combined.
Which is why you gave me the nickname, which I re-gifted.
No, you don't re-gift it. It's not a wedding gift.
Let's take Roosevelt's take on it. Can you re-gift a nickname? If it's appropriate.
Now, listen. I'm going to say yes.
You're wrong.
My man.
But I'm going to explain why.
Okay.
A gift is a gift to the recipient to do what he or she wants to do with it.
It's not that kind of gift.
If he or she wants to return a nickname that's suitable for the person that gave it, I think you should be able to do that.
No. He is Captain Complaint.
Captain Complaint.
Yeah, he did that whenever we were working together the first time.
That's my first time ever hearing that. Captain Complaint. Okay.
It didn't get outside our station somehow.
Well, now we're we're going.
That was a long time ago.
That was probably 13 years ago.
Because he complained about everything all day. And it was tiring.
I was a very unhappy person at the time.
At the time you were, but you were.
Yeah.
And I was just getting ready to say that during that time in his life, or let's just put it out there, during any part of your life where you are not happy, you can find anything to complain about. It almost like supports your unhappiness.
It's confirmation bias, bro.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Well, and it's what we were talking about earlier. It's all about perspective. Because if I would have just shifted my way of looking at things, who knows? But I didn't. So.
Every single day. And what sucks is it was before text messages blew up. So you get the phone call. And complaining.
Anyway.
What's that term?
Then we go to the bar. That's what we did.
Statute of limitations.
Yeah.
So how long ago did he try to re-nickname you?
No, it wasn't me.
It wasn't you?
I was passing it on to somebody else.
Oh.
So he gave me that nickname 13, 14 years ago. And then last week, I gave it to somebody else.
Something like that.
So I think I
he earned
passed. Nah,
you got to come up with something different, like a different variation.
Different.
Wow.
It's like
it's such a perfect nickname, though.
I know. It's because I came up with it.
I set him up for that, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. You
can't throw a softball, man.
I witnessed that. I witnessed this.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the sports cars in the 80s and the early 90s. You had the Camaro, the Firebird, and the Trans Am. And they were all the exact same. Mm-hmm. With the headlight was like, oh, I'm going to put mine here. And just cocked it a little bit. So you got to change that nickname up a little bit.
Yeah, but it just rolls right off the tongue.
It does.
So
is he comparing you to a car?
I think he was trying to do roundabout.
It's an analogy. It's a thinker.
Analogy, and it's not as good as the nickname he came up with. So he's
The
not so
nickname is
good.
solid.
Yeah,
Not everything can be gold
Right.
or platinum, diamond,
Silver's,
whatever.
Silver's good.
yeah.
Got you some silver?
I'll take a silver medal on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway,
That gum is killing me.
yeah.
I wanted to
no.
reach in his mouth like last hour and just take it.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, really? Why don't you just say something?
Because you were enjoying it. I'm not going to take the joy out of your life.
Actually, I normally wouldn't have kept it in my mouth this long, but I'm sitting in front of you guys. I'm like, okay, I don't have any paper.
He's got a trash can back here.
Do I really want
He's
to?
got that.
Could have thrown
And
it right in
he,
there.
and I'm going to do that. You know what that reminds me of?
See,
Right as we'll wrap it up.
So listen,
There's like little gaps in the story, so I'm just staring at the gum. I'm like,
I've got to say this though, right? I have this saying, and I can't take credit for it. I heard it years ago, but I've kept it. And the saying is, closed mouth won't get fed. You want to know what I mean by that? Thank you for asking. I'm going to tell you. You both were irritated with the gum. But neither one of you said anything.
I wasn't really irritated
Well,
with
just
it.
hear me out. You know, I'm going somewhere with my statement.
Okay.
Closed mouth don't get fed.
Yeah.
The minute he said something, what happened?
Oh, I said, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I could hear it.
And then I tossed it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You got a point.
See?
Yeah.
Closed mouth don't get
Yep.
fed.
There's another saying that I like. You have one mouth and two ears. Use them proportionally.
Yes. Yes.
I failed at that all the time.
I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah.
I can't even lie to you. And it's funny now. I have kids. I got 2 girls, and I'm like, babe, be quiet. I say shut up. Only when it's got to the point where I'm like, you just need to learn to shut up and listen. Be quiet. Just listen before you speak.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things you're saying, you would probably get those answers if you would just listen.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a lost skill. Is people will talk, but they're not talking for you to respond to them.
Right.
They're talking because they're talking.
they want you to believe what they say and agree with them, not have your own.
Well, and it's not even that. It's just they want to get their point of view across, and it doesn't really. They're not going to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah.
Right.
So
It's almost like a one-way conversation.
it is. That's exactly what it is, and that's I think going back to what we were talking about earlier with the kind of the entitlement victim type thing.
Yeah.
That's another thing that we have kind of lost as a society is just listening to each other.
Oh, man.
Sit down and have an actual conversation where both sides get to talk and you actually listen to what that person is saying and try to understand it.
That's wow. It's very interesting you say that because I was just talking to my daughter the other day. I said, honey, don't text your friend. Why don't you just call her and say whatever it is you need to say? No, I'm just going to text. We're in this world where we're forgetting how to communicate with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You can type a text, and based off what you think is in that text, you'll feel some kind of way about it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're actually talking and you can hear the tone of someone's voice,
Yeah.
you can see if they're upset, angry, sad, if they're just fine. But you can't with the text.
No.
Or if they're being sarcastic or joking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because how many text messages get read the wrong way?
Yeah.
I've got, man.
Or social media posts.
Yeah.
Or whatever. People just take it and apply their own perspective to it.
Hello. Yep.
They read it how they want it to read.
And it could be the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah. It usually is.
Yeah.
Usually, however you think it's supposed to, you want to take it, it's not that way.
And I've been guilty. I've been guilty of reading. I can remember, wow, this has been, oh man, I'm kind of telling my age, but I was in college, right? And we had computer lab, and we had MySpace.
MySpace. Yeah.
Was before Facebook. It was MySpace.
So much better.
So I had a MySpace account, right? I had a girl I was talking to. She lived out of state.
Was she in your top friends?
No.
No. She wasn't that special then.
No. I can't recall, actually. I was new to it all. But I had just spent the week with her. And she just put like a blanket post. These are things that gentlemen do for women. And one of them was like, you walk on the outside of her. You keep her on the inside. Different things, right?
Yeah.
She's just sending a random post stating that the things that a gentleman does for a woman, right? Why did I internalize everything she said?
Because it was directed at you.
I know. And I MySpaced her back. I said, well, I did make sure that you were on the inside. And she was just sending a blanket post, right? Just for information. And I screwed that relationship up because of my stupidity. And that relationship didn't last maybe 2 or 3 weeks after that.
He manned the hell out of that relationship.
Yeah. Which is cool.
Rosie for the win.
Yeah. You know.
It worked out better in the end, though.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. I have my beautiful wife and my 2 beautiful girls, and life is good. Life is
And your
good.
horse?
My horse. Oh, man, I can't believe I didn't speak. Do you know who my horse is?
Are you talking about the Mastiff?
Yes.
Yes, I remember him whenever he was this big.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you could pick him up and it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you look at me like, no.
He could eat you.
He's
That's a back injury.
215, almost 220 pounds now.
Yeah, he's a big dog.
Yeah.
Big
dog.
baby.
Man.
Big dog.
Big baby.
Well,
You
Yeah.
have big babies.
they're not big. Well, we lost the one.
Right.
So, but yeah, Brownie's like, I think the last time we took him to the vet and he got on the scale, he was 58 pounds. So
Okay.
he's not
Yeah,
big.
that's
And
not
then
big.
the Australian Shepherd we got inherited, basically. She's only 45, 50 pounds, something like that.
30, that's hair.
Yes.
Oh,
Dude, I
yeah.
was wearing a black fire department shirt today, and Rachel and I were out running errands, and we stopped by the chiropractor. She looks at me and she goes, "Oh my God, you're covered in hair." And I'm like, oh yeah. I had all this white Australian Shepherd hair all over this black shirt.
How's Brownie doing with her?
Really good. Like, he kind of keeps his distance, you know? I mean, it's not like whenever we had Oreo where they would lay on the dog bed or the couch and they were just right on top of each other
Right.
all the time.
I remember that.
And with her, it's not that way. But she's kind of weird. Like, she doesn't even sleep because Brownie sleeps in the bedroom on the dog bed. You know, whenever we go to bed at night, I'm like, "Hey, come on, let's go to bed." And right back to his spot on the dog bed, and he's in the bedroom. She won't stay in there. She sleeps out in the hallway, or she'll be on the couch. I mean, but she doesn't. The only time she slept in the bedroom was the other night whenever we had that big storm. And
She's probably still building
know
that
the-
trust, though.
she was like that before.
Yeah.
They said whenever she was with
The other people.
the other people, she slept out in the hallway too.
How long have you had her?
About a month.
Okay, so she's a new addition.
Yeah.
Okay. It'll just take a
So
little
you-
while.
So you got her by the same time we got our dog.
Yeah. I mean, she's a great dog. I mean, she's 12 years old. So,
Okay.
I mean, she's chill. She does great with Brownie. And I think that's one of the reasons why is because she's not all over him all the time. You know, she's kind of started to do a little bit of that herding thing, and he kind of lets her get away with it most of the time. But, like, she tried to play with him this morning, and, like, he wasn't having it, and he gave her a little bit of the side eye. But she knows, and
Right.
she just backed up.
Backs off.
And it was, you know.
She's mature.
Yeah.
And she's a female, so.
Well, we tried to get another little pit bull female puppy.
Really?
That was our first choice, because she kind of looked like Oreo, and whenever we went
Okay.
and saw her, she kind of was the same kind of goofy puppy. Great, probably would have been a great dog. Her and Brownie did not get along. at all. Like, we took him on walks a couple times and it was okay. And then we brought her home to kind of let her, check out the house. And so she would get her smell there so he could smell her and we get him used to her.
Right.
And we had him in the backyard. And, dude, I don't know what it was that set him off, but it was evident within 5 minutes it was not going to work.
It was not a good match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she was going after him. And we're talking about a puppy. And he was bark and growl at her, and she was going right after him. Mm. And I was like, yeah, he would end up doing a lot of damage, and I don't want that. So
that wouldn't be good for anybody.
No. So we got him. We got the Australian Shepherd. So we're good for a little while.
We're getting another one, too.
Really? You empty nester. You're just trying to fill the house.
Yeah, trying to fill the house back
up. It's a puppy.
Puppy.
Dude.
Is your wife still working with the horses?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, she is. So doing lots of good work.
Awesome.
So we probably have her back on here before too long. We got some things to discuss. So, but yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh man, this has been a blast, man.
Yeah.
It really has, y'all. Just talking. We're not so much reminiscing, but just thinking about things that I've experienced. It's pretty cool to purge that every now and again.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. And that's why we started the podcast is, get people to come on, talk, tell their story, share, and then maybe help somebody else. Can help somebody you don't even know. Somebody stumbles across this or some friend sends it to somebody and says, hey, check out what this guy has to say. I think it's applicable to you.
Right.
Right. And, keep somebody from going down a bad road or whatever.
Hey, you can't.
Hey, it's a win.
It's definitely a win.
Yeah.
It's definitely a win. Giving back, man. I don't want to say taking your junk or your garbage, but taking your experiences, good, bad, ugly, taking it all and using it to help someone else, can never go wrong with that.
Oh, yeah.
And if you get my mom's book.
Yeah, I found it on Amazon. It's called A Story to Life, Tales of Toil and Grace. Roosevelt Hamilton.
Hampton.
Hampton. Sorry. I don't know why I said Hamilton.
Yeah.
I know your last name.
Yeah.
Great book.
I've known you a day or two.
Yeah.
Just a couple of days.
$15.95, and it's on Prime, too, so you can get it if you order it right now. Well, this is if I order it right now.
Yeah.
I'd get it in 2 days.
There you go.
Great book.
Read it by the weekend. So, all right, Rosie.
You're writing a book, right?
I'm in the process, yes, of writing my story.
Well, there you go.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
I think they made a movie out of that.
Yeah,
already.
you might want to check on that one.
Well, that's not the title. Would you like to know the title?
Sure. Yeah.
I could tell you the title.
That's up to you, man. You can hold it till.
I'm going to hold it.
Hold it.
I'm going to hold it.
And then whenever
I give you guys the exclusive. Isn't that what
go.
they call it?
Yeah, I'll get the
The
exclusive.
exclusive.
whenever about, let's say, a month before it gets ready you're going to release it, let us know. We'll have you back on the show. So that way it drops a couple days before, the podcast will come out a couple days before the book comes out and start pitching it.
All right.
There you go.
You got to give us a signed copy, though.
Consider it done. I'll give you guys freebies like I got.
I wouldn't. I don't want the freebie. I just want a signed
I'll
copy.
pay for it.
I'll pay for it.
I'll give you a freebie. I'll give you guys a freebie.
I mean, I won't turn down a freebie.
Well,
Yeah.
thank
We'll
you.
give you a tip. We'll get.
All
I'll
right.
pay for the autograph.
Rosie, thanks for coming on.
Hey,
really appreciate it, man.
It's my pleasure.
Good
My
to see
pleasure,
ya.
guys.
Everybody, thanks for stopping by. Just like we end every episode, if you are struggling, having a problem, there's resources out there. Reach out. And if you know somebody that is struggling or having a problem, don't be afraid to say something. Talk to them. There are resources out there. So take care of yourself and have a good one.